Hello and welcome to another edition of AttractWell Office Hours. I'm Coach Ashley, joined today by founder of AttractWell, Greg Kilwine. Hey, Greg.
Hey everyone, really glad you're joining us today.
We're excited to have you here today where we are going to be talking about what it looks like to create offers that convert. So we're taking your concept from idea to income, and we're going to talk about this in such a way that I think is going to be really beneficial for you if you are newer to offering your expertise. And I think that this might provide some clarity for you if you have gotten yourself stuck, or if you feel like some of the things that you have endeavored to create aren't selling the way that you would like for them to. Also, here at the top of the call, I want to welcome you. This is a call that we offer just about every Thursday of the year at 2 p.m. US Eastern Time. And this is an opportunity for you if you are a coach, if you're an expert in anything and you want to sell that expertise in the form of your time, courses, programs, memberships, and the like, all of which can be created and offered and sold on the AttractWell platform. On these calls, we like to offer insights into ways to improve the way that you grow your business, and of course, show you how you can optimize in many different ways, and of course, build and scale using an all-in-one platform called AttractWell. So we are excited to have you here today, whether you are working with us actively or not. I hope that you'll give us a shot. If you are not, we are $1 for your first month. And there's just so much that you can do here. And today we're going to be talking really more conceptually. Like, we can definitely go and take a look at how different things work in AttractWell as it pertains to making offers and selling things. But today, I think it's really important for us to conceptualize offers, offer creation, and really kind of prioritize what it looks like to have offers and to create new ones, and specifically how we go about allocating that time, those resources. As we're looking at right now, we're almost midway into December of 2024. Can you believe the year is almost gone? We're thinking about what things are going to be looking like for us and our business going into the new year. And so I just want to make sure that we are, starting that off on the right foot. So welcome everybody. Head into the chat if you haven't already. We've got folks here from Florida, Maine, New York. I've seen a lot of East Coast representation here. There we go. North Dakota. Here you go. Greg, you got a neighbor? Glad to see you guys here. All right, so Greg and I are going to pop out a video. Keep it coming in the chat there. I'm going to get into some slides that I've prepared for you here today. And by the way, as you're in the chat, why don't you go ahead and let us know what you do? What do you offer? Who do you help? And how do you serve them? All right, so today we're talking about going from idea to income, and really what it means to create an offer that sells itself. So today we're going to talk about what it looks like to create simple, clear offers that you can sell immediately, even if you don't have a list, you don't have a big following, or you don't have sophisticated systems set up with AttractWell or elsewhere. We'll talk about what it looks like in terms of creating a foundation of an offer that sells itself, talk about the pitfalls of overcomplication, and what it looks like to create a direct path to selling your time effectively. And then, of course, as always, we will get into live help and Q&A. That is why we created this call series in the first place, is to create an opportunity for us to get together and chat and work on whatever it is that you are working on. So if you have questions, please feel free to add those to the Q&A. I'll be taking a look at those. And of course, you have the one and only Greg here who built this platform, who will be able to take those questions as well. If you're watching this as a replay, go to attractwell.com/office hours to get on the list for an upcoming live call. And if you would like to work together on a call like this one, like one person has chosen to do today, you can go to attractwell.com/work review to reserve that space. And we can work together at the close of one of our upcoming Thursday calls. If you'd like for someone to do the work for you, that's an option as well, attractwell.com/concierge. All right, so let's just get right into this. Why do you figure selling our offers is hard? What have you struggled with where it comes to getting your existing offers to sell? What does that look like for you? Feel free. This is a no judgment zone. We're all in the same boat here, right? We're all working on improving ourselves here together. Pop that into the chat. So I'm going to give you some insights here on what I observe. I've been coaching in this space for a good decade and a half, thereabouts at this point, and it's usually the same thing, right? The problems are actually a lot simpler to identify and in fact simpler to solve than we tend to believe they are. So first, quite often, if we aren't selling the way that we'd like, it's most likely the most common culprit that I see is that the value of what we offer isn't being clearly communicated. And this isn't just outlining, here's all the stuff that I'm going to give you. It's very specifically being able to play translator between your expertise, which is a language, and the currencies or what is important to the person that you want to sell it to, which is also a language. You need a translator app between those two things, right? And that translator app is copywriting. That is good copy that clearly communicates the value of what you're doing in such a way that the ideal person for this offer gets it and sees that it's obviously a good thing for them. Another one, and this is a lot more common than you think, especially in the age of the internet and using AI to create whatever you want. A lot of the times we get sold, typically by some guru, on the idea that we need to have a thing that they can teach us to make. And that thing, you see that it's a good idea because you could see, because they're selling you really well on it, that this membership or this super special funnel that sells 15 things or whatever it is, somebody told you that this would be a really great thing for your business, or you saw somebody else do it and you're like, oh, I'd like to do that too. But then when we really kind of pull back all of the layers, what we're doing is selling something that nobody asked us for. Have you done that? This is often something that I see in particular, because with AttractWell, you can make anything, right? And because you can make anything doesn't mean that you necessarily should make everything, right? So sometimes it truly means that we are jumping the gun, right? Like we are thinking a little too far ahead and we're producing a solution that the people that are following us aren't even ready for, right? So that's a common issue that we see here. Another one, this is, this is not necessarily a core problem. A lot of times this can be solved with communication, with better copy. But sometimes what we're selling isn't specific enough to who it's for or to the problem that it solves, right? Sometimes it's just too wildly general. And I see this one quite often with signature programs, right? Like we want to be absolutely thorough and all-encompassing, and we wind up losing the trees that are very profitable for the forest that is just too overwhelming for anybody, right? And then finally, we often can conflate value with complexity. Our brains are really satisfied with the idea that we can come up with something that is very complex. And there's just something about the complexity that makes our brain feel more satisfied with the solution that we create, when in fact, the things that sell the best and that solve problems best are usually elegant and simple, right? And I think that we just generally aren't satisfied with that because our intellect wants to believe that that's just dumb, right? It's not enough. That's dulled down. That's not it. There has to be more to it than that. But that's often not the case, right? Okay, so let's talk about what makes an offer irresistible. So first, you got to hit a problem with a solution for that problem, right? And we need to make sure that it's a one-for-one deal. If we're going too big on the problem, then we can actually, by the time we're done explaining all the things that we need to do, we have convinced somebody that it's not for them because they've identified pieces of that solution that don't fit them, right? If your solution is so big that someone could read your itemization and say, well, those 5 things aren't for me, therefore, what am I paying for, right? You might be solving too big of a problem with your offer, right? So it is really important to consider this. Obviously, there will be folks who are happy to invest in a one-stop solution to a massive problem that's going to take them 6 months to 2 years to solve. But that is not the norm, right? We are going to see better results starting small. And that doesn't mean that the dollar signs are small, right? You can solve specific problems and really laser in and do very well with this without making things large and complicated. Also, really importantly, a lot of us are a little resistant to the idea of selling our time, and for good reason. It makes sense that you would have some resistance to selling the thing that is the most valuable thing you have. But it's an unavoidable starting point, right? It's a place where we must start. And we can scale quickly from that place, but a lot of us try to skip that part, right? So we have to start by selling our expertise directly to clients, right? Before we start jumping into scale. And we also need to, importantly, like where we start talking about scale here, we have to put in the time to build a following before we can expect scale to work, right? Finally, clarity over complexity. It's got to be something that they get. If they don't get it, they're going to stop paying attention and they will be gone before the pitch even happens, right? So it needs to be really super clear for people to understand what they're buying and how it's for them. In this day and age, people really do want to identify with who they're buying from, right? With the brand that they're buying from. Brand identity and our personal identities, these are things that actually have relationships now, right? Once upon a time, like this was something that I would teach, talking about the phenomena of Apple, right? And the Apple fanboys that would, have a queue of, hundreds of people outside of the Apple store when an iPhone would launch back in the day. Now, this is true for countless brands. I live in New York City, and on any given day of the week, no matter the weather, there are droves of people lined up outside of at least 2 stores a day in parts of Manhattan, because there are people who identify so closely with some of these brands that they literally would fly across the country and stand in line outside of a store. People need to know that you're for them, right? This isn't just you're a doctor, I've served doctors. No, this is you're a doctor who's a little bit crunchy, who works with patients who have endocrine disorders, right? Like it's that kind of specificity. And there's enough abundance available in terms of opportunity for you to be able to grow wildly big inside of small niches like this. Obviously, not every niche is the right one, but it is really important that you are super clear on what you're doing and that you are super clear on who you're talking to, right? You're making a simple point to a specific person, right? And let's talk about this here real quick. How many of us have a signature program, right? Like here is my program, and it's probably big, right? It's probably something you would work with a client on for 6 months, right? We have this massive thing. I have a program. I have this big thing. Well, quite often, if we really look at this through the critical eye that I'm proposing here today, you don't have one program. I mean, maybe you do and it's not selling, but if you broke that up into its 4 to 6 or 12 constituent parts, you could easily sell those solutions. And again, we are reticent to do that because we believe that that might make us less money, right? So I want to sell this whole thing for $4,600. And I don't want a nickel and dime and sell this one for $297 and this one for $425 or whatever, right? But the fact is if we actually start to make that shift and focus on the problems and delivering the solution to those problems to the audience that we want to build, we can actually grow a lot faster than focusing on selling a $4,600 program. It feels nice to go high ticket, but high ticket is actually quite a step or 3 up there in terms of the level of trust that you have to build, right? Start with smaller offers, start with smaller programs and offers that you can scale, right? Small is actually smart, right? If you haven't had success with small, how do you guarantee success at scale, right? It's easier to scale when you have things that work simply, right? I've made this analogy, I believe, last week on our call last week about like learning to run, right? Like in order for you to be able to crawl, you just basically need to be a baby. We can all crawl, right? But if you want to run, you have to walk first. And if you want to run a marathon, you need to crawl, then walk, then jog, and then run and train and run and run and run every day before you can run that marathon. And where we're, seeing this analogy translate to scale, that running piece that's selling something, right? That's selling something small, right? And we have to do that over and over and over again and create success around that before we can see scale working successfully, right? We can't jump, no matter how well a guru can sell you on his system to do X, Y, or Z thing or build whatever funnel in your business. You're not going to remove the sweat, right? You're not going to remove the work. And the work, thankfully for you, is life-changing for the people who engage with you, right? The work is what you want to be doing, but the work to get the work is what I think a lot of us have to face, right? We have to do the one-on-ones, right? We have to have some of the smaller offers, and we have to put ourselves out there and build an audience that is willing to listen to us and then take us up probably on smaller offers in some cases, right? All right. So we want to start where we are. So from our idea to our first sale of that idea. First thing we need to do is identify a tangible problem that you solve. If you have never sold an offer before, then you might want to take a couple steps back and look at what it takes to solve the problem, right? So I'll give an example here in the wellness space. We have probably heard, if there are any wellness coaches here, there are folks who have reverse type 2 diabetes, right? That's enormous, right? Would we like to be able to do that with all of our clients? Yes, absolutely. But you are going to have a lot more success in the near term getting commitment from people so that you can get to that point. Because you remember, like if you're going to be working with somebody on solving something of that magnitude, the buy-in isn't just their money, right? It's their commitment. And there's a lot of hurdle there. So if you haven't solved the chunks of that problem, right? Like lifestyle habits, right? Supplementation protocols, whatever. Like if you haven't solved smaller pieces of that, you're not going to solve the bigger one. So consider starting with some of the smaller ones. Now, this isn't going to be true for every problem. Obviously, not everybody here is a wellness coach that works with people, who are trying to reverse type 2 diabetes. But you get what I'm saying. If you are solving an enormous problem, then you might consider providing some offers that are of those smaller scale that contribute to the solving of the larger problem, right? This just means that you have more to offer, right? It's just a starting point. So where we want to start is with the top issue that your audience is actively struggling with, right? What is the top issue that they're struggling with? And honestly, and Peggy, I see, I know this is something that you do. So the top issue that your audience is struggling with, you know that they are diabetic or pre-diabetic, but that's not what they're thinking. They're thinking, I've got this weight, I've got these issues with energy, right? The issue that they're actively struggling with as they describe it, right? Think about what they're saying. And your expertise calls it something than they call it. It's something different than what they call it. So you got to make sure that you're clear on what they call it. All right, then you get to define the transformation that you provide. Let's go back here. Define the transformation that you provide. So we're going to focus on outcomes, right? What are they going to get? What's going to happen if they take you up on this offer? What is an outcome? So in a lot of the work that I've done in the courses that we have here, we talk about their currencies, right? Currencies are positive or negatives. These are things that they have, like this is what they have in their pocket, right? They have dreams, they have goals, they have fears, they have struggles, right? Positive, negative currencies. And they're looking for more of the good and they're looking for less of the bad, right? And so if they work with you, what do those outcomes look like? What are those positive currencies that they respond to, right? What does that look like? And then we want to simplify what it looks like for them to engage. So the path to engage. So we want to create an easy to say yes to offer. And this is where it becomes, again, really important for it not to be complicated, right? You need to be able to say, I'm going to offer you this is going to be 6 calls, right? Denise, currencies are things that are important to them, right? So it's something they want more of or something they want to get rid of. Right. And so we actually do, and if you do the perennial program workshop with us in January, We do sort of an exercise of the more versus less, right? So there's an up and a down here, and there's the up currencies, the down currencies, the positive, the negative. So in the case of, I'll just continue using Peggy's ideal client here as an example. The people that she's trying to connect with are people who want more energy, and they probably want to lose weight, right? So there's a positive, I want more energy. Fatigue would be on the negative side. We're just looking for words that they respond to in a positive or negative way so that we can use them effectively in our copy, right? So here, what we need to do in simplifying the path to engagement is whatever the solution looks like, it needs to be something that's attractive to them. So you may have a great big program that could absolutely see someone reverse their type 2 diabetes, right? But if that program, as you describe it to this person, tells them about just the absolute slog of work they're going to have to do, they're going to have to remake their diet, they're going to have to wake up at 6 o'clock every day and exercise and do all of these things, do you think they're going to buy it? Yeah, absolutely not. Right? But if what you can sell is a series of videos and calls with me where you're going to learn how to have more energy in 6 weeks, you're going to wake up every day with more energy, and you're going to if you follow these steps faithfully, you're going to start seeing the weight slide off, right? And so you want to be able to attach outcomes to this. And obviously, of course, in particular, where we're talking about health and wellness, you need to be mindful about the claims, et cetera. You're not necessarily going to guarantee that they lose weight because they obviously have to do things too, right? But you see where I'm going with this. We're not going to say, you're going to do this, and then you're going to do this, and then you're going to do this, and it's going to be overwhelming to them. And they're going to be like, okay, well, maybe I don't want to do that because it sounds like work, right? So we want to make sure that we are super clear on what's included in such a way that they can easily buy in, right? Again, I want to bring this up because I feel like in this space, and by this space, I mean, we are on the internet and you are actively learning from somebody who wants to show you how to make more money and be more successful in your business. There are a lot of me out there, but there's a lot of the ones that are not me that are just trying to sell you on multi-$1,000 programs and things that you might not need, right? Because they're not going to tell you to do the work. They're not going to tell you about the work that isn't so fun, right? They're going to tell you about the flashy thing that you want. And so what I want to really encourage you to do is take a close look at where your business is right now and what your business needs right now. And your business right now is made up of the people that you currently serve and the people who are following you, who you could serve in the future. And if what you're creating doesn't help those people specifically, and you need to have spoken with at least 10 of these people to know what they want, right? If what you think you want to make doesn't help those people directly, and those people aren't ready to buy it, then this might be something that you need to table for later, right? So remember that simplicity is going to outperform complexity every time. And if you have not successfully sold a ton of your time, you might not want to create something more complex just yet. You might want to start investing in simplifying the systems that you have and creating things that help you to serve more people in the way that you currently do, right? Don't think about building another thing unless you know who's going to buy it, right? Unless you've already sold what you are selling now successfully. Because the fastest path to scalable revenue is selling your time. And if you've sold your time successfully, then make sure that you're listening to any needs that people are sharing with you, right? If you are successfully selling your time, then you have the best possible chance of launching something scaled to people who are already buying from you, right? So what do they need? The people who you're currently serving, what do they want? What is what you do not do for them? What is maybe a level 2? These are people who have bought level 1. What is level 2, right? Build those additional offers that address the gaps or even the next level up. So again, going back to that same example, maybe with folks who are, you want to help them reverse type 2 diabetes, but what they really want is to feel better and lose weight. You're going to focus first maybe on simple habits to get their energy back. And then once they have their energy back, the next thing that you're going to sell them is going to be an exercise program, because now they have the energy to do it. But you're not going to tell them they're going to exercise 4 times a week when they don't have energy, right? So we make that the next level. So we're kind of creating a ladder in that case. And then, of course, again, scale. And when I mean scale, I'm talking about memberships. I'm talking about group programs. I'm talking about, big launchy things, right? Do that when you validated your value, maxed out your pricing on one-on-ones or your availability for selling your time, right? I just want you to be smart about this, right? And look, if you don't have time left to serve people, raise your prices. Add value into how you serve people, right? Create that course, but have that course be something that doubles up into the way that you provide value to your one-on-one clients, because that way then you could raise your prices, right? And if you, again, if you don't have a lot of time, but you're still serving people one-on-one, consider creating resources in AttractWell that do more of the teaching for you, so that you're spending less time teaching and more time in direct action with your people, right? Implementation steps is what you want to be working on, right? If that's where you are. And of course, if you are at that place where you are at the top of what you feel you can charge for your time and you don't have much of it left, that means you're in demand. And when you're in demand like that, you've got a list of people who are excited to buy from you again, and you can absolutely go launch that program, absolutely go launch that membership, right? It's levels, it's a ladder, right? And you can climb the ladder fast, but it doesn't erase the rungs, right? It's hard to climb ladders skipping rungs, right? It's not super safe, right? So it's really important that we just really focus on offers that work for the business that we have right now. And at the end of the day, there's no need for you to wait to have a big following or perfect systems. Now, listen, you do need to have a sizable following if you expect to have a membership launch, for instance, to be successful, right? There's no two ways about that. People aren't just going to magically show up and you'll suddenly have 10,000 more followers when you build your membership that you want, right? You build this perfect thing that you know that you want to have. You don't have a following for it yet. That's what I don't want you to do, right? But for you to be able to take inventory of what you can do and who you can serve, who's listening to you right now, you don't need a big following for that. You don't need perfect systems for that, right? Your expertise at the end of the day is just the starting point. There's so much more value that you will be able to offer, right? There's so much more that you can put into what you do. And knowing your value, being able to communicate that, that's only half the battle. So turning that value into a clear and compelling offer that resonates with the right people and drives sales, that's where it gets challenging, right? That's where so many of us get stuck. So my question for you is, do you want some help with that? Is that something that you would benefit from, right? Are you in a place right now where you maybe have an offer, but it's not selling, and you know this is the right thing because this is your expertise, but it's not moving, right? Or maybe you know what you'd like to do, but you feel like you haven't quite nailed down how to talk about what it is that you do or who it's for, right? If that is you, then I want to invite you to join me in January, right? We are going to host a half-day workshop where we're going to develop and launch your program. This is for you if you sell your time. This is 100% for you if you're looking to build leverage into how you sell your time. This is going to be perfect for someone who is early in business, I think in particular, or if you're looking for refinement on the thing that you offer, right? So this is about the design, the structure, the price of what it is that you sell. And you'll be able to leave this call with confidence, with the copy that you need, talking about what you do so that it sells, and a plan to sell and deliver your offer with ease. And Denny, by sell your time, I mean coaching, consulting, services. So if you were a coach, consultant, practitioner, service provider, that's what this will look like, right? Selling your expertise in a way that you are working directly with a client, right? And this is a live half-day workshop. We've never done this before. And we want to make this something that is really affordable for smaller businesses, for younger businesses. And this is very much centered in how you use AttractWell. So if you are using AttractWell, we wanted to make this really easy for you. This is only $297 to be able to participate in this workshop. Another one real quick, you guys, we are taking the Client Funnel Challenge into 2025 with new training and templates and an entirely new approach for those of us who are selling leveraged offers. So if you have maxed out your one-on-one coaching, your coaching programs and those service offers, and you want to start focusing on your group programs, memberships, leveraged offers, we have a client funnel challenge for that. Now, these will be courses that'll be available to you later on in 2025, but in January, those of you who take advantage of either of these two cohorts are going to be the first to access the new client funnel challenge content, and you'll be able to meet with me in a small group on a weekly basis to focus on your implementation. You'll get access to templates, guidance on copy, ways to use AI to really get this done more effectively and more quickly. So the first one is our classic client funnel challenge cohort. If you sell your time, if you sell sessions, if you sell call packages, this is your funnel. If you require basically a conversation, if you need to be able to chat with somebody to decide whether or not they're a fit to work with you, and again, this is you if you're a coach, consultant, service provider, then this is going to be the client funnel challenge that you want. And this works for a really broad range of price points. You could sell a $10,000 high ticket, annual package. You could sell something for a few $100s. Either way, it's going to work in this case because you've got the human element present, right? And so any business that uses calls or direct communication to qualify and close leads, that's the Client Funnel Challenge Classic. And we're going to do a 4-week cohort with this and the templates and everything. And that is only $197. And then, of course, again, if you are interested in developing courses, group programs, memberships, leveraged offers, this is going to be an option for you as well. So this is for you if you want to build a funnel that engages your leads with full automation from when that lead is captured on your website to when the sale is closed, right? So you would actually be making the pitch all automated and the sales would be taking place on an automated basis. And this is going to work for a smaller price range just because it is automated, right? And it's recommended for things like courses, programs, memberships, and just basically anything that you don't need to talk to somebody to be able to pitch and sell. And then, of course, again, just like the other, this is a 4-week live cohort with calls, templates, and training. This one, a bit more involved. It's $297. But the cool thing, you guys, is that you can get all of them right now for just $497. So you can get guidance on your program, dialing that in, your pricing, all of that in a half-day workshop. And you can get access to both 4-week cohorts. And these all start in January. And Mark, you will retain access to this, right? The Client Funnel Challenge that we have in place right now will be replaced by these eventually. But yeah, these will be the new versions of the Client Funnel Challenge, just updating that because we haven't updated that one in a few years. So yeah, if you'd like to be a part of this live cohort, we would absolutely love to have you. And you can take advantage of that and the Perennial Program Workshop for just $497. We do, Greg's got a link there. I'll put the link in the description on our YouTube channel. Definitely hope that you guys, again, take advantage of this opportunity, the only time that we've ever done it, and certainly excited to work with all of you guys in the new year. All right, I saw a question come in, and then I do have a work review request as well. Let me see. I've got Janice for that. So I'll bring you out here momentarily, Janice. The question here was from Mark. To clarify, instead of selling an entire 12-week coaching or online programming course, break it up into 3 or 4-week courses. Potentially, right? This isn't so much about the time or the time investment for the client. Sometimes the time investment isn't an issue. Sometimes beyond a certain amount of time, it certainly can be. 12 weeks isn't an unreasonable amount of time. I start to see a deterioration the longer something goes into something like 6 months, but there are caveats to that, right? Like I have seen people absolutely fill their like annual high ticket that they sell for $15,000, $20,000 a piece. And that's a commitment for an entire year. But the path to getting there is all of the things that come before it, right? It's the maxing out the one-on-one coaching. It's then now I'm offering groups, and now I'm doing not just one group a year, I'm doing two, I'm doing four, right? And then the thing that you upsell from the group is annual, right? Because now you've got people that want it. Always remember that the people that you have served are going to be the most likely people to serve that you could serve again in a lot of cases. Now, in some instances, depending on your vertical and how you work with people, you might not be somebody that's working with someone beyond that beginning instance. But a lot of times that's the case, right? Like you're leaving a lot of opportunity on the table if you're not looking at ways to more deeply serve the people that you've already served, right? So always be thinking about opportunity as being a ladder that you build into your business. And it's not something that's necessarily wide, right? It's not like people can go to your website and be like, oh, well, maybe I want to do that, or I want to do that. It's much more effective to have one thing, right? And that's why the funnel is so important. You have that one thing, they latch onto that one thing, then you get them bought into that one thing. And from that point forward, you can then bring them into other things after that, right? So it's building those levels and layers from there. I hope that helps. All right, let's see, Janice, let me find you here. Hey, how can we help?
Hi, I have searched on the site, but I can't figure out how I can have the pop-ups where they can sign up for like the newsletter or the, yeah, those
Yeah,
types of things.
yeah,
I can
so
do the other links, but that one I cannot figure out.
got you. Yeah, so is there a particular page you want to do this on?
Yes, so
Yeah,
I
what's the name of it?
so it is, there's two of them. One is the Becoming Whole coaching,
Okay.
and the other one is, well, the under, they're both, one's under the coach and one's under the artist
Okay.
on the web page. Do you see that? So they are in the next section, page, is it page 2? Yeah. So Janice, the artist, I want to offer them the newsletter and have it when they go to this page, it pops up.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, so that's going to be in settings here under
Okay.
leads. So it's already set to give you a pop-up. And then you choose the message. And here it says download my free guide. Of course, here you're going to want to modify this to offer the subscription or whatever it is that you're offering. And then you've got the settings here. So you could use exit intent, and that would be this first one. So if the visitor tries to leave the page, it could pop up. You could also have it show up if they scroll past a certain percentage or a certain amount of time has passed. You can include a button for them to actually click and opt into this as well. You would just need to put #lead in the URL field of the button. So let me show you what that would look like.
Okay.
So yeah, here we go, like
Yeah, I've
right
got
here.
that there. Yeah.
Yeah, so we would put instead of contact here, and I won't save this, you might want to use this differently, but if we put lead here,
Yeah.
and we go and preview that, then it's going to pop up that lead form, right? And this is
Oh,
where
yeah,
you
that's
can be
perfect.
offering, yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so you just want to make that modification under the leads tab in your page setting.
Okay.
So
All
you
right.
put the compelling offer here, and then you can choose how it shows up if you want it to pop up aside from just being clicked.
Okay. So how, I missed how you got to this page that you're showing me right now.
Yeah, it's settings right here.
Under settings. Okay.
And then
Yeah.
it's the leads tab.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right. I can take it from there, I think. Yep. That's good.
Awesome.
Yep. Oh, and one last thing in it. You see
Okay.
how I've got a banner at the bottom for the, I can't figure out how to get the background fixed on that either. I've tried
What are
that.
you wanting to do here?
I, well, when I put that up, all of a sudden the words disappeared. So I didn't know what I did wrong because I was doing it on the other page, the coach page, um, to try and get the um, same thing happening so they could sign up for the newsletter.
Got you. Oh, I see. So this is white font and
Right.
you can't see it here, right?
Okay.
Is that what you mean? Like that you can't see the font here?
Okay. No, I knew I could do that.
Okay.
It's when I have font on it already, and then I'm trying to put a background on, all of a sudden everything's gone.
Oh, okay. So I guess it's just going to kind of depend, and I need to see specifically what you're talking about here. But what I did just do is I went into the section settings and I put a
Yeah.
background color in, and that's not going to override the image. The image is actually going to override the color, but this should actually help just when you're editing the content for that to
Okay.
be able to show up.
Got you.
Nobody's going to see that except for you and the editor here. So is that more or less what you're referring to, or is there something else happening?
No, that's it.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, so you
No,
could
that's
always
great.
always change the background color, especially if you already have an image that's not going to show up.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure thing. All right, we had a couple questions here. Feel free to keep them coming, you guys. And yeah, excited to work with you. I see, Chris, I see your hand up. Let me know if you would like to come out to chat, if that's why you have it up. We could actually do that. All right. I wasn't using AttractWell much except for my Zoom one-on-one lessons, and I want to start offering my books and programs to sell with Piano Online School. Oh, hi. Haven't seen you in a while. My question is, what's the best way to do it with Vault or online store? Eventually want to have a membership site. Yeah, so that's all stuff you can do with AttractWell. Okay, so with books, if your book is something that you're selling, then the store is a great way to do that, to offer that. You can use Pages for it, but I think you had already had your store set up, and we worked on that previously on one of our office hours calls. So I would recommend the store for that in particular. And then your programs, I think that you had maybe like an initial like sort of consult that maybe costs a smaller amount of money. And then of course you could recommend that people purchase a larger program. All of that is stuff that you can certainly do from the store. And I think because you have books and things that can be sort of added up together in your use case, I do think that using the e-commerce features of AttractWell could be very useful for you. Let's see. All right, Chris, I'm going to bring you out here in just a moment to go through your questions then. Give me just a second. And by the way, if you're putting questions into the chat, if you could please bring them into the Q&A. I want to make sure I don't miss any of these from you guys. Okay, this anonymous, when developing your first offer as a coach, is it wise to start with a signature program or a one-on-one sessions package? Oh, that's a really good question. So a signature program is not some like super clearly defined thing, right? A signature program is just simply, this is how I work with people. And this is the core means by which I get results with my clients, right? And so you could, if you do that right, absolutely have a signature program, right? And you don't need to have open-ended sessions. If I were starting over again, that's exactly what I would do. I would name it because it needs to be branded and it needs to be named, in accordance with the solution that it provides so that it's easy to understand. And I would just sell that and sell it and sell it and sell it. And people would come to me and be like, oh, well, I think I'm an edge case. I don't know. Maybe that's not the thing that I need. And then we'd have a conversation and that they would discover that it is in fact the thing that they need. But if it's truly not the case, then I might have a separate package that's a bit more open-ended, certainly more expensive because that's outside of my streamlined, scalable situation, right? You want to incentivize people to work with the things that are most advantageous for your business, right? So having a signature program, if it's not something that's wildly complicated, if it's something that is communicated in its value clearly enough for somebody to see that their investment in it can get them the result that they want, then you could absolutely start with a signature program. And I think that would actually be best to do that. It's just that a lot of people think that signature program equals necessary complication. And if you're not taking that route and you are making something that's elegant and simple and effective, then I believe that's the best way to go, right? Having a signature program versus like work with me for 6 sessions. It's way more compelling to have an offer that has a name, that has a descriptor, that has a clear outcome than it is to say, you could work with me 6 times for this much money, right? Because then you've got people associating your time with a dollar sign and not with the value of what you provide, right? I hope that that makes sense. My answer is yes to signature program, but don't make it too complicated. All right. Are the two courses running concurrently? How would we do both the perennial course and the client funnel challenge in January? Yeah, so these are going to run concurrently. We are going to be surveying for schedules for everybody. I would really like to do the perennial program workshop. It is a half-day workshop, so it's going to be a 4-hour session. We're very likely going to be doing that on a weekend. And yeah, I want to do that earlier because I feel like if the help that you need begins with like not knowing what your offer is or being able to communicate it clearly, you need that before you start building your funnel, in my view, right? So we're going to do the perennial program workshop early, and then we'll be starting the cohorts from there. And again, a lot of us are doing all of it, right? I've noticed that the majority of folks are going in on all of them. So we will be sending out a survey to kind of get a feel for that and see how we can best accommodate everybody. I don't remember. I said simple and elegant and definitely make it a perennial program. I don't know. We do have this recorded. All right, Chris, I'm going to bring you up. Okay. All right. So you had a question here. How to find people to have initial discovery conversations with, other than hanging out and participating in Facebook groups, etc. Yeah. So Chris, tell me a little bit about what you do and who your ideal client is.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I see, I know it's for experts, but I still have to kind of test out my quote unquote expertise to make sure it has resonance. And so what I'm going to be doing is offering productivity help for solopreneurs, coaches, course developers, etc., specifically dealing with distraction, managing distraction. And I found out late in life, late in my career, which I'm still in tech, I'm a tech writer, that I've been, all this time I've had ADHD. But even people who are not diagnosed officially with ADHD, it turns out, here's an interesting stat, like 60 or 70% of most entrepreneurs, or a large percent, have ADHD or a variant of ADHD. But the thing is, what I need to do is, and I have a whole bunch of stuff written out, is to test some ideas to see what resonates. And so I'm not, I've already tried to create like an offer and lead magnets. That's way premature.
Okay.
First, I have to hone it. So those initial conversations with humans is what I need. But it's a chicken egg problem. How do I have the conversations if I really don't have a list? I don't have a bunch of contacts other than as I say in what I wrote, going to Facebook groups and engaging in conversation that way and gradually finding things out.
Got you. So basically if I could ask, what you've put together, this is something that you've used on yourself, right?
Right. I mean, I am my own avatar in a sense, but I have done some initial research, and everyone says there's definitely a need for this. It's pretty hard to, based on all the research I've done, the general research, a lot of people have pain points around this, where they start out with the best intentions and they have all kinds of great plans and they do time blocking and all this great organizational stuff. But at the end of the day, they can't get themselves to stay on target, on the essential actions.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
that's the focus. There's also a second half, but I won't go into that.
Sure.
Actually, about mining distractions for creative input. But that's like the icing on the cake.
That's cool. Yeah. So
that-
there's validation coming in the chat right now, just so you know.
Oh, I didn't see that. I'm sorry. I didn't see that.
Well, just so you know, like you're in good company here, myself included. So here's what I would do in this instance. Number one, you got a friend, right? You got a somebody that, you know, you got a colleague, a friend. If what your systems, obviously you know that the things that you're doing work. There is plenty of recent and really good neuroscience that can be referenced for the elements of what you're doing.
Yes,
Right? So you don't
very definitely.
necessarily, you don't necessarily need to go and like, you know, have some grand human experiment to be able to do this. A phenomenal example, actually, every single week, Andrew Huberman releases like a 3-hour podcast where he's taking elements of very well studied, very beautiful researched, you know, he's building protocols out of his expertise and analysis of these things, right? And he's
Okay,
going
could you say
just
again?
so Andrew Huberman is a content creator. He's got a podcast and he's got a massively huge following. And this is one of a lot
Okay,
of
I'm
topics
sorry,
that he
the
covers.
audio.
Oh,
Sorry, the audio broke up. I couldn't hear the name of that person. Would you say it
oh,
again?
Huberman.
Huberman. He has a
Yes,
podcast. Okay,
yes,
gotcha.
yes.
Yeah,
And I mean, they are,
right.
it is only for the absolute nerdiest of nerds. They're 3 hours long. So it's super niche, but I'm just giving it as example of somebody who's seeing wild success, not by taking his protocols and like serving a client and saying, here's my proof, but like putting together, he knows me. Yeah, me too, Catherine. So the, you know, you know the stuff that works, you can put that together. But to get to your question about like how you actually get people onto a call, the way that you do that, and this is what we get into in the client funnel challenge, because the goal is to get people onto a call, because very likely like working with you, especially in the beginning, is really going to look like, you know, a one-on-one situation where you're really meeting them where they are and adapting these things that you know, having that accountability. Something like what you're talking about can work very nicely at scale once you've built an audience, right? So definitely you want to start looking at building an audience, but you need to have a funnel that really encourages people to get onto a call with you. And so if you're struggling to get people onto a call, the best place to really look at is going to be what's compelling about getting onto a call with you, right? What would they like? What's attractive about that? What would they get out of that? And if we're positioning that in the right way to where it is a compelling offer to get on a call with you, then if we're placing that on the other side of an opt-in, where maybe you are, you're promoting I don't know, a free protocol or a download or a meditation or, some little high value snippet of something that you know works, that is not necessarily easy to obtain on your own. You're giving that away for free. And then immediately after they opt into that, you say, hey, by the way, you could get on a call with me and I could show you exactly how to put this to work for yourself successfully.
Right.
Right. And so that's
an outstanding,
so what I just described is that's our one-page funnel blueprint.
That's an outstanding idea. And I'm with you 100% about like solve a small problem, a really concrete problem.
Yeah.
But by the way, I have very bad audio. I'm gonna have to watch the recording. It's all choppy. I couldn't hear much of what you said. I apologize.
Sorry.
But in terms of the proverbial wisdom is go to your existing contacts and have conversations. I get that, but trust me, I tend to not be active on social media. I tend to not have this phenomenal list of people. I'm sort of a solitary character. I don't have this existing list. So other than literally walking up to people on the street at random or going to conferences and hanging out at the bar and doing that, I'm looking for some innovative ways to I just want to have a few conversations to see what the real pain points are from the voice of the customer.
Yeah.
Because that is the truth.
Yeah. So what I would do in that instance is I would first look at I would look at the places where your time is best spent in a social sense. You will need to become a little bit more of a social creature online, at least, just in order to get things off the ground, because this, you have a human to human business. So you need to have more human connections. And if they aren't the right connections right now, then we do need to make more of them. So I would think that, like, developing a strategy of using LinkedIn to start growing your network would be a good idea. And then just generally networking through the people that you know. So I think that, you mentioned being a tech writer. I think it's very likely that there are communities, groups, cohorts that you might participate in that other people have put together, where you obviously have the opportunity to network, but then maybe even more importantly, the person who put you all together might benefit from hosting someone like you to maybe do a training or an interview or something like that. So you can maybe start looking at your connections as PR opportunities for you to get visibility in front of other people's audiences, right? Not people who necessarily have competing interests with what you want to sell, but with people who are serving the people that you want to sell. And I would start with who you are, right? So obviously there's lots of business owners here who, like me, could very likely be diagnosed if we cared to be, and have either had to learn our way through that, or still very much need the help. I wouldn't go too broad. I would talk to writers first, because that's your story, right? That's your success story, and it's how you would most be able to impact someone right now, with even more nuance than you would be able to do in a generalized sense, talking to people who might share these characteristics otherwise. So I would really start thinking about where are the watering holes that you have access to because of who you are, and what would be in it for somebody who is the owner of that watering hole. I would shy away from Facebook groups where this is concerned, but there may be some purchase there, but I would really start looking at this more of like a professional networking opportunity. And you might start thinking about people who host conferences, people who teach writing, or people who teach skills that are adjacent to yours, or who serve people like you in your career, right? We don't want to necessarily go to them because we want to pitch to their audience, but we want the opportunity to deliver value, right? Or to get a network connection, right? Like, who do you know that is dealing with X, Y, or Z thing? I have an opportunity for such a person to be able to participate in a small group for free, or for $100 or whatever, basically to engage in this study. I'm conducting a study, or however you want to frame it, right? So I would start small, start with who you are and what you're connected to as a result of that. And you will have to get a little bit more social.
Right, I'm with you there. And by the way, I've been working with actually a LinkedIn expert,
Oh, good.
who's really an expert in that thing. And some of the things that we assume are going to be good are really a bit. For example, LinkedIn groups are dead; they're just not effective. And newsletters, okay, but you want it to be your list that they subscribe to, not LinkedIn, because you lose those people. So the thing is, to get resonance out in LinkedIn is a lot trickier than one might think, And I'm not really a Facebook person. Instagram is really not my thing. So I'm kind of running empty, other than coming up with a YouTube channel, which is premature.
Right. Well, so what I'm suggesting here is not that you try to go for scale. And what I'm talking about is using LinkedIn, just making sure that your profile is up to snuff, and actually be reaching out and prospecting for connections to people that could connect you to more people, right? So no, I am, the last thing I'm suggesting is that you go post in groups. That is not what you need to do right now. You need to identify with people, like you need to look for the people who you can tell resonate with sort of what you're about, or you resonate with them. They probably serve an audience or have access to an audience that you could help, or that you want to connect with. And you're really making inroads with an individual here. The goal here is you making inroads with an individual, or even more ideal, talking to somebody that you already know. And there's a great suggestion here. Tracy mentioned going to business networking events.
Very good
100
idea. Yes.
Yeah,
Like
that's
meetup groups, stuff like that.
yes, meetup groups, BNI,
Super good. Super good.
Toastmasters. Yeah, these are all going to be
Yeah.
people who are generally oriented around improving themselves, and they want to talk to you because they might want to sell you something, but that's okay. Like, that's an exchange. They get to do their little pitch for you, and then you get to talk to them about how they can't focus. So it's good, right?
Thank you so much. Yeah. By the way, I got to say, I listened to a ton of business coaches. I just want to say this flat out, Ashley. You have extraordinary clarity on
Well, thank
everything
you.
you were saying. And I listened to lots of podcasts, lots of coach experts. I'm not exaggerating. I hope everyone here agrees. Really, you cut to the chase. You'd be surprised how few people, because I'm also a course developer, by the way, the one-to-one, start with one-to-one thing. You'd be surprised how few people talk about that. Oh, build your membership group. Whoa, no. First things first, right? So thank you for your wisdom about the sequence of what to do in what order. Because a lot of folks, a lot of the quote experts get that wrong. They really get that wrong, and you don't.
Yeah, they're not going to tell you, like, they're not going to tell you to eat your broccoli first.
Thank you.
They're gonna tell you what you want to hear.
Thank you for the
Thank you so
time.
much.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, I have a question here. Adrian, how do you feel about discovery calls? Is that the best way to ensure you're selling a solution to your specific audience wants and values? In the beginning of selling your expertise, 100% yes. 100% yes. And it's not going to be a scalable thing long term, right? Eventually, you're going to reserve discovery calls for the top ladder stuff, right? The top rungs of the ladder, the high ticket, or the group programs where you want to absolutely make sure that everyone who's a part of that group is going to gel well or whatever, right? You will eventually get to a point where discovery calls become something that you do much less of. But in the beginning, it's not just critical for you to talk to somebody to know that they want to say yes to you. You want to know that they are someone that you say yes to, right? Because if you've never had a client that you wish you didn't take the money from, you just know that I hope that it never happens to you. Number one, but number two, like you're able to get more intelligence about what you offer next from these conversations. These conversations aren't just about selling the deal you want to sell today. It's about deciding whether or not you actually want to work with somebody yourself. And then it's also about being able to mine the ideas, the needs, and even most importantly, the copy, the words, the things that your people, your future clients need to hear are coming out of your current clients' mouths, right? Or the people that are getting onto these calls with you that are good leads for you, they're telling you the things that they need to hear to be closed. And they're saying the same words that their friends with the same problems have. And that's why these discovery calls are so critical. It's not just because a human is a better selling agent than technology, especially, if you don't have all of the great skills and experience to build technology that sells itself, right? The human can sell best, but the human is also listening best, right? You know your people, and you're only going to know them better by spending more time with them. And discovery calls, you're going to do much more of them than you're going to close clients, right? And that's a win-win, because that's giving you the intelligence to adapt what you have. And again, that's why you don't build monstrous huge things. You build small things that are nimble, that can adapt. Because when you start getting this feedback from people who aren't buying, and here's the problem they have, here's the problem they have, you know the next thing that you need to sell. But you don't need to make it huge. Make it small enough so that you can go push that offer out for those people. Oh, another good question. Fee or no fee for discovery calls? In the beginning, I think no fee. Depending on what your offer is and who the audience is, sometimes you do need to have a qualifier. I've seen it done. I think that more often than not, it's going to work best as something that is a no fee discovery call. But again, it depends on your price point. It depends on the people you're selling to. And ultimately, your skill at selling. There is something to be said, especially if you're offering something higher ticket. Like if you are high ticket, right? If what you're selling, if you get on the phone with somebody and what you're selling is $10,000, then you are probably going to want to have a fee for your discovery call. And you can say that the fee is going to apply to your to the final purchase, right? You know, if we decide to move forward, I'm going to take what you paid for this call and put it toward this package. But somebody who is going to say yes to a $10,000 offer on the phone is probably not going to take you as seriously, right? If they're getting your time for free versus having paid $250 for it or whatever that might be. So it's not a yes or a no. There's a lot of qualifiers there. If you aren't selling a $10,000 product, if you're selling something for half of that, don't charge for your call unless you just get a bunch of tire kickers, and you need to, you know, actually put that qualifier in place. But yeah, the majority of the time, I'm not going to charge for discovery calls because you don't want to lower the barrier of entry for someone who is actively showing interest in giving you money, potentially working with you, right? There are some verticals that you might be showing up in where people treat free differently and they aren't taking things as seriously. I think that this is something that I see maybe most often in the wellness space, especially where you have a lower cost offer. If that's the case, then charge for it, right? Okay. The answer to the PDF doc question, I think that was something that maybe Greg answered, right? I think somebody
Yes.
wanted to see it.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay, when linking a download blueprint as a giveaway on the website, do you recommend using a Google Doc? If not, what's the best approach for connecting documents as lead magnets? So Greg actually put a link to a help article in AttractWell in here. But the best move generally, unless the function of what it is works best, if it remains as a Google Doc, in my view, I think having something that you're offering needs to be branded to you, and it needs to be something that you retain more or less the rights to, right? So in that case, I would publish a PDF using a tool like Canva, or you could even use like a word processor like Pages on Mac, so that you can have your logo, so that you can have copyright information, so that you can have active links that go off to, say, that discovery call opportunity with you, or to a sales page, and so on. So I'd fully recommend an actual PDF that's published with that kind of information. All right, you guys, we will not be live next week or the week after for Christmas. We will be sending out some fun stuff for you though in the meantime. So keep an eye out. We will be back in a couple weeks. Let us know if there's something you would like to learn. We will come back and share that with you. Do take advantage of the cohorts and the workshop. So excited to do this for the first time with you guys. We will see you in a couple weeks, and have a great holiday, everybody.